And it is with very great pleasure that I introduce Mark Stevens, our foundation lead for the district, who will introduce his team.
Thank you, Mary. Bore da pawb. Good morning, everybody.
Bore da.
Yeah, my session is split into three. I'll be talking about the Rotary Foundation's remit to start off, and then I will break to introduce Tom Hunt, who's going to speak about major giving. Then I will show a short video to precede the grant management seminar. So first slide, please, Ian.
It's not Ian, it's Bob that's running your slides.
Thank you, Bob. The Rotary Foundation. TRF is Rotary's charity set up to fund humanitarian projects throughout the world. Simply put, it funds all the grant aid districts receive, and the amount we receive is directly linked to the amount we give. Next, please. How did TRF come about? It was in 1917 with a surplus from TRF's annual convention that the RI president, Arch Clump's idea of an endowment fund dedicated to doing good in the world brought about its formation. Thanks to his vision and the extraordinary generosity of Rotary members worldwide between then and now, that fund has become one of the world's leading humanitarian foundations. The term endowment is the basis of the fund, where all monies endowed form a fund base. In 2020-21, TRF received over $32 million in endowments, with the all-time contribution amounting to $447 million. Next, please. For the 14th consecutive year, the Rotary Foundation has received the highest rating of 4 stars from Charity Navigator, an independent evaluator of charities in the US. This puts TRF in the top 1% of charities. So we Rotarians can be rightly proud of our charity and have every confidence of how the Rotary Foundation uses donations, sustains its programs and services, and practices good governance and openness. Next, please. Before zooming in on the figures relating to our district, let's look at the global picture. These figures illustrate the amount TRF spent worldwide during 2021-22. The global and district grants totaled $100 million that year. The previous year, those two grant types totaled $161 million. Unfortunately, a downward trend that permeates down to us here at district level. Next, please. What is the route map for supporting TRF's financial structure? By donating to the annual fund, our money is invested for 3 years. Our annual donation is split between the World Fund and the District Designated Fund, our DDF, with the DDF being split between global and district grants. I'll elaborate further on these grants later in the presentation. Next, please. So how do we contribute at a personal level? Let's just focus on the first two options here. Every Rotarian every year is the entry level for giving, amounting to £3.50 per month at the $50 end. Doubling this to $100 or £7 per month makes the donor a sustaining member. It is this level of donating that Rotary gives special recognition if the club average reaches or exceeds this amount. During 2020-21, 14 out of our 57 clubs exceeded the £100 average per capita. Next, please. This slide is extracted from the TRF Giving Report for our district, with a column on the far right illustrating the decline in numbers donating. Selecting 2021-22, district membership was 1,122, giving just 135 of members donating to every Rotarian every year in that year. disregard the 2022-23 figure, as there are 2 months of data to complete the year. How does this translate into its effect on our DDF? Next, please. Simply put, a dwindling amount, which will obviously reduce the impact we make to our community support. A drop of over $10,000 between 2021 and 2024. Therefore, my message is this. If we don't collectively address this situation, then our funding pot will dwindle, thus reducing our efficacy in supporting our communities. This is not sustainable. So please take the message from this presentation to seriously consider donating to TRF. Next, please. How do we sign up for donating? Go to the My Rotary site, click on the donate button on the top right-hand side of the blue banner and choose from the drop-down which asset you wish to support. With the annual fund share highlighted in this instance, you only need to scroll down on this page to enter all the prompted details. Next, please. Where your money goes is illustrated here. Where the money donated 3 years ago comes into play this year, in that 5% will have been deducted by TRF to offset administrative costs. The remaining 90% is then split to service the World Fund and our DDF. Next, please. Our DDF is then split in half to service our global and district grants, which I shall elaborate on in the grants management seminar to follow. The World Fund is used to support our global grants to the tune of 80%, as well as funding initiatives such as End Polio Now and disaster response grants. Our district has benefited from this DRG to the tune of $40,000 this year in support of the Ukrainians here and in the Ukraine. As a district, we also added another £19,000 to this effort through the District Governor's Fund given up by immediate past District Governor Ray Bevan. Next, please. Our DRG distribution close to £60,000, covering about 100 projects ranging from supplying repurposed bicycles via the Rotary Club of Cowbridge to provide shelving for bringing order to the chaos of a distribution centre by Cardiff Bay and supplying medical supplies to the aged in Ukraine by Rotary Club of Abergavenny. Next, please. I now move on to the remaining 2 major aspects of TRF's remit, End Polio Now and the Peace Programme. For more than 35 years, Rotary and its partners have been working tirelessly to rid the world of this disease. We are so close to achieving this aim, to give up now is unthinkable. Why? We have to immunise more than 400 million children every year. We have to improve the disease surveillance systems to detect any polio virus in a person or the environment. All this has to be supported by hiring more than 150,000 health workers to go door to door to find every child. Next, please. Why we must eradicate polio. Your gift will improve lives and improve child health. The surveillance and vaccination campaigns also monitor children for other health problems like vitamin deficiency and measles. Your gift will invest in the future. If all eradication efforts stopped today, within 10 years, polio could paralyze as many as 200,000 children a year. Your gift will lower healthcare costs. $27 billion in healthcare costs has already been saved since 1988, with another 14 billion expected to be saved between now and 2050. Your gift will make history. The eradication of polio will be following smallpox to become only the second human disease be eliminated from the world. Next, please. This data is the most up-to-date set of figures on the world poliovirus reported to the WHO on the 2nd of May. If you look at the highlighted figures, it illustrates the fact that the situation has undulated since 2017. However, during the last year, only 4 cases have occurred, 3 last year and 1 so far this year. Next, please. It is therefore important that we increase our efforts to support either individually or collectively by, for example, organising fundraising events on Polio World Day, which is on October the 24th each year. Next, please. Consider hosting a viewing party showing polio-related videos, which can be downloaded from the My Rotary site, or organising a fundraising concert, or a walk and or ride events. Next, please. Another option to consider is approaching schools to engage in an information exercise. This involves Rotarians providing the necessary advertising and class engagement materials so teachers and pupils can take part. Items include nail varnish for painting purple pinkies, balloons, colouring books, and information modified into questions to cover basic lessons, such as spelling and maths. Next, please. Also available is the box of 4,000 crocus corms, which this year are to be ordered via our district EPN coordinator, Carol Halliwell, with payments being made to district as opposed to RGBNI. Details will be sent out to all clubs soon, with the deadline of August the 18th for orders to be received. If your club is planning any EPN projects in the coming year, please let Carol Halliwell know, as the list of events will help district be aware of what's happening on that front. Some of you will be aware of the World Immunisation Week that has been postponed. I've been asked to pass on the following message. National Immunisation Day in certain states in India will be on Sunday, the 28th of May. If you know of any Rotarians that were hoping to join this volunteering trip, please pass on the message that RGB&I have advised against going, as it will be over 40 degrees centigrade in Amritsar, and Rotarian volunteers will be working in streets with little shade. Next, please. The Peace Programme, Rotary's Peace Fellowship, was established in 2002, resulting in the training of more than 1,600 Peace Fellows in over 140 countries. It has provided leaders of governments, NGOs, education, research institutions, peacekeeping, law enforcement, United Nations, and World Bank. Next, please. We have 7 Rotary Peace Centres at 8 universities. 5 centres offer master's degrees in disciplines related to peace and development, one of which is at Bradford. It has the largest programme in the world, which includes peace studies, conflict prevention, resolution and development. It offers 7 different degrees in peace and conflict studies over 15 months. Next, please. There are restrictions and eligibility requirements. To apply, visit rotary.org/peace-fellowships. Applications are available in February and have to be submitted by mid-May. If you are considering supporting a candidate, get in touch with Alison Sutherland, our Peace Programme Coordinator, for advice and guidance. I'll stop here and hand over to our guest, Tom Hunt, who is going to inform us about major giving. Tom is from the Rotary Club of Ludlow and is RGB&I's Endowments and Major Gifts Advisor. Thank you, Tom.
Morning, everyone. As Margaret just said, I'm from the Rotary Club of Ludlow, District 1210, and I'm the Endowment and Major Gift Advisor for RGB&I. You're going to ask, what's a Major Gift Advisor? I need to find Rotarians who would like to become major donors to our foundation, either in a lump sum or over a number of years, or who wish to join our bequest society so that they are doing good in the world when they pass to higher service. However, what I really, really want is something I'm going to come to just a little bit later. Firstly, can I thank every one of you in this audience who is currently supporting our foundation. And I'm going to start. I normally, when I'm talking to a live audience, I ask 3 questions. How many charities do we have? And I hope you're all going to shout out 1. Then I ask, what's the strap line? And I hope you're all going to say, you know, it's doing good in the world. And then I ask, how do we do good in the world? And now I hope you're all shouting, with donations. We can't do anything without donations. And I'd just like to add a bit to what Mark said about Arch C. Clump back in 1917. I think they actually started with a donation from the Rotary Club of Kansas City of $26.50. And that has now risen to 1.6 billion in pledges and actual money. And we are hoping to build the endowment fund up to 2.25 billion by 2025. So you may have skeptics in your club. You may have people who say, well, why? Why should we support our foundation? Well, first of all, as Mark has mentioned, we're Charity Navigator, 14 years, 4 stars, 1%. Top 1% of charities in the world. But why is that? First of all, the low costs. I don't know of any other charity who only charges around 8 pence or 8% of whatever is donated to go towards costs. I don't know of another charity that gives you so much flexibility of where you wish to put your money. And I'll cover a bit more in a moment. I don't believe there is any other charity that has the stewardship that we do, in that the money is tracked from the moment it leaves the bank account to where it's spent. And lastly, I don't know another charity that has the expertise that we have. We have a cadre of over 650 I don't like using the word expert. I think we all know what X and spurt means. But people who are very specialised and have specialised knowledge and can help on any project that you've got. So if you're a bit stuck and when you're doing a global grant and you really don't know where to go, there is a member of the cadre that will be able to assist you. There's actually I said 650 worldwide. I think there's 32 in this country, but you can still avail yourself of any of them at any time. So those 4 reasons, I believe, make our only charity absolutely unique. So where can you put your money? You can put it basically anywhere you wish, depending on the level. You can put it into any one of the areas of 7 areas of focus, or any combination. You could be directly into the annual fund, into the World Fund. If the amount is sufficient, you can support a global grant, a global scholar, even a peace scholar, although that does take quite a lump of money. It could also go into a vocational training team trip if you wished it to. The point being is that you can target down where your pound goes to exactly what concerns you, whether it be peace or education or water or whatever it happens to be. I look on the annual fund as being good today, and the endowment fund is the gift that keeps on giving, and it's for today, tomorrow, and hopefully forever. I must mention at this point the End Polio Now Fund. We must keep our promise that we made back in 1985 to rid the world of polio. And I'd just like to add to Mark's comments. October the 24th, World Polio Day. We are hoping that Rotarians in the UK will build on what was done last October the 24th, when many clubs and districts walked a mile for polio. Can I ask you all to go back to your clubs and please put it in your diary? That the 24th of Tuesday, so you might want to do it on the 21st or 22nd on the weekend. It's real straightforward, simple, I think. Every participant just has to pay £1, no more. Now, if they wish to support, in a way, get someone to sponsor them, then great. But every participant only has to put in £1, and in each of your towns and villages and cities, I'm sure you can find a flat 1 mile walk. So there's no restriction when the person is perhaps can't walk that fast or is in a wheelchair. If you pick the right route, everyone can join in, and we're encouraging schools, the scouts, the air cadets, any groups that you can get to form up on that day. You just think of the visibility that is going to give to Rotary, and you just think of the possible membership benefits, as well as making a lot more people aware of what Rotary has done for the last 30 odd years. So just I know perhaps get a bit bored with facts, but I think it is important for you to know that we, through the Rotary Foundation, is spending over $1 million every day on good causes and good projects. I find that astounding. I also found it astounding that we've spent over $4 billion to date on good causes. 350,000 scholarships, 2 billion has gone into End Polio Now, and Marco's already covered the peace programme, so I won't repeat that. But I still find that phenomenal. Just one point, that over 1,600 peace fellows are working all over the world in peace and conflict resolution. So now we come to the donations. What I said earlier, that my job is to find people who wish to become major donors or Bequest Society members. And the entry level for that, I've got to tell you, is $10,000. However, what I really want is for every Rotarian in the UK to become a sustaining member. I don't like mentioning this, but it's the truth. Only around 11% of Rotarians in the UK are sustaining members. I'm going to say something very contentious. I believe that 95% of Rotarians can afford to become a sustaining member. £7 a month, roughly, depending on whether you can claim gift aid and what the exchange rate is, but roughly £7 a month. Have a cup of coffee less a week, or half a pint of beer less a week, or a glass of wine less a week, and put it in a pot, and you'll easily end up having $100. And I believe that if a Rotarian takes that first step, that could lead to them taking more interest in our foundation, looking at all the wonderful things it does every day, and that may lead to say, well, I think I'll put a bit more in. And that would lead to becoming possibly a member of the Paul Harris Society, which is $1,000 a year rather than $100 a year, so about £70 a month. Over a number of years, that would lead to that person becoming a major donor, which, as I said, is $10,000. It starts at $10,000. that could then go anywhere and up to, some of you may have heard of a Arch Clump Society in honour of the person, as we said earlier, started our foundation. It's just a mere $250,000. Yeah, I'm sure you've got that stuck in your bank account somewhere, not earning much interest. No, but seriously, there are many Rotarians who have committed, and we have now 5 in the UK, which I find very heartwarming. I'd also like to ask and make the point about when you are giving, would you please give it personally? Or if you're going to do it via your club, would you please ask your secretary or treasurer, whoever fills the form out, to turn it over and put your name on it and your number and whether you can claim gift aid. Because there may be many Rotarians who already sustaining members, but we don't know they are because we've not been told who their names. So if you could please do that, because we want to know who you are, because we want to say thank you. I'd now like to read you a little poem. It's called What is a Rotarian? A Rotarian is a person who digs wells from which they will never drink, who vaccinates children they will never meet, who restores sight for those they will never see, who builds houses they will never live in, who educates children they will never know, who plants trees they will never sit under, who feeds hungry people regardless of race, religion or politics, who allows a person to walk half a world away, and who knows that real happiness can be found by serving others. Because the fact is, without you Rotarians, none of what we can do through the foundation is possible. I would urge you all, please, to look on Rotary Showcase, or again, if you've got any doubters in your club or whatever, please go onto Rotary Showcase, and you'll see just what gets done every minute of every day, of every week, of every month, of every year. So, in summary, we need donations to improve lives, change lives, and save lives. We need donations for doing good in the world. The foundation is at the core of everything we do. It is the heart of Rotary. So please, would you make our foundation your charity of choice? Thank you. And I don't know if I'm allowed to ask if there's any questions, but if there are any questions, I'd love to answer them. And also, could I finish by saying thank you to Mark and Steve for allowing me to speak to you today. Much appreciated.
Yes, that video is a 3-minute clip that just encapsulates everything that the foundation does in the world. If we'll start the slides then please, Bob, for the GMS. So global and, sorry, can you go back to? Thank you. Global and district grants offer 2 paths for servicing our local and international communities. Using this picture as an analogy, grants are about planting our ethos of supporting communities to the benefit of both ourselves as providers and our communities as the recipients. Next, please. If you are contemplating applying for a global grant, I advise you visit the resources section on the My Rotary site, which is accessed by the path shown here. Next, please. This brings you to this page, and when you select the 3 dashes, it brings you to next, please. This page with the drop-down selection for scrolling through. Selecting any of these items allows you to download the item, such as, next slide, please, the guide to global grants. Next slide, please. Global grant applications can be submitted at any time of the year and range between $30,000 to $400,000. Global grants fund large international humanitarian projects, scholarships, and vocational training teams that have sustainable and measurable results in one or more of Rotary's areas of focus. The basic grant life cycle starts with the draft, whereby Rotary members plan a project or scholarship and build their grant application online. At the authorization stage, club and district leaders review the application and authorize funding. Then the grants planners submit the application to Rotary Foundation. Payment comes from TRF following its approval. The completion phase is where members carry out the project, reporting to the foundation annually, as the project may last several years, until the work or studies are finished and the grant is closed. Next, please. To qualify for a global grant, a member of the host club must undertake the grant management course on the My Rotary site, path as shown here. In order to qualify your club, your president and president-elect must also sign up to the club Memorandum of Understanding. Next, please. TRF's areas of focus has been mentioned a few times. The 7 areas are the basis for choosing a project type for global grant support. One or a selection of these 7 areas must be the subject of the project in order to qualify. An interesting fact is that the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th items here, which cover health and well-being, take up 70% of the global grants awarded in 2021-22 and account for 75% of the total funding. Next, please. The online application starts with this My Rotary site and selecting the points shown. The application asks about your grant's objectives, participants, sustainability, budget, and financing. Next, please. Regarding financing, there are some clubs that are put off by the $10,000 input required by the host club. This, of course, can be overcome by 2 or more clubs joining with the host club in supplying funds to make up this minimum input amount. What this slide illustrates is the minimum funding breakdown, with $10,000 from a club or clubs being 80% supported by TRF's World Fund, and the remaining amount being funded by our DDF. Next, please. Make sure that the grant falls within Rotary's global grant guidelines, is technically feasible, you and your partner club are qualified to address this need, and issues aren't already being addressed by another organisation. Myself and next year's grants subcommittee chair, Paul Bulpin, are available to advise and help if called upon. Next, please. Here's a small selection of the type of projects supported by global grants. Top left, we have students collecting water from a borehole well in Bulawula Primary School in Uganda. Another water project on the top right is a safe drinking water filtration facility in Karachi, Pakistan. The facilities were installed through a decades-long partnership between Rotary clubs and Coca-Cola Pakistan. Rotary members also worked with the community to provide hygiene training and to teach community members how to operate and maintain the equipment to ensure sustainability. Bottom left, we have farmers in Taiwan who have grown cabbage for quite some time, using pesticides and turning the soil over each year. And these conventional farming practices were endangering the water supply for the county's 450,000 residents. Rotary members from District 3490, in partnership with the National University and local businesses, helped the community adopt some sustainable farming practices, as well as higher yield crops like chestnuts and truffles. Rotary members also supported training in e-commerce and marketing to help the farmers sell their harvest. Since 2021, 18 landowners in Datong Township have increased their revenues 15-fold through the project, which has resulted in agricultural diversification, better educational opportunities, more free time, and a cleaner and healthier environment. Next, please. Oh, sorry, and the final slide, picture in that slide. Thank you, Bob. We have Austrian Rotaractors here and Rotary members from various clubs in Vienna that started an initiative to build homes in their Rotary district, although across the borders in Srebrenica, Bosnia. The site of the famous massacre is still recovering from the war. On to district grants now. Next slide, please. District grants fund small-scale, short-term, 12-month projects that address needs in your community and communities abroad. Each district chooses which activities it will fund with these grants. You can use district grants to fund a variety of district and club projects and activities, including humanitarian projects that include service, travel, and disaster recovery efforts, scholarships for any level, length of time, location, or area of study, youth programs, including Rotary Youth Exchange, Rotary Youth Leadership Awards, that's RYLA, Rotaract and Interact. Vocational training teams, which are groups of professionals who travel abroad, either to teach local professionals about their field or to learn more about it themselves. You have plenty of freedom to customize your service projects. Refer to the terms and conditions for Rotary Foundation district grants for information about district grant requirements, or contact Dan Griffiths at districtgrantlen50@gmail.com. Next, please. There are key milestones during the 12-month term of the district grant, beginning with attending this GMS. Once you have decided on your project or projects, request a prospective project form from Dan and submit by the end of August. Next, please. The form is 2 pages. On the front page, it is important to note your club's record of giving to TRF, which can be found at, next please. Yes, this is quite a long sequence of pointer clicking where you arrive at your club's fundraising analysis. Select the month you need the analysis to run to for example, June to end the year, then select the right-hand arrow to enter the month, then click OK. Next, please. The total amount your club has donated over the past 5 years is displayed in the top right-hand corner of the analysis. If you could go back to slide 16, please, Bob. Thank you. On the second page, sorry, slide 16 is the one before this, is it? Up again, there we are, there, sorry. On the second page of the form, should you be submitting multiple applications that exceed the total cap of £1,500 per club, then in order to help us choose, you can give your preference in the middle box. At the start of the current year, we had 19 projects between 14 clubs with a range of local and international projects. Our grant award amounts are worked out by dividing the total fund by the number of applications and have been set at between £750 and a maximum of £1,500 per club. Hence, you get some clubs applying for 2 or more grants that total under the £1,500 cap. We'll go forward to slide 19, please. Thank you. Back one. Thank you. During September and October, District reviews the application, closes the previous year's grant, which has to be approved by TRF before the new grant is awarded. Clubs that are successful are sent the full application form to progress the process. This form requires a more detailed description of the project, breakdown of costs and club engagement. During November, District receives the applications, approves the funding and provides the final reporting forms. The projects are normally undertaken between December and July, with a mid-term review being undertaken in February and March to quantify possible project adjustments, which can result in more money being available to reallocate. Your club must complete its final report by the 31st of August so that we can complete District's commitment of closing down the grant in order to qualify for the following year's grant. Next, please. An example of a District grant is shown here, where the Lamb Hospital is a rural and isolated hospital based in the northwest of Bangladesh, approximately 200 miles from Dhaka. The Rotary Club of Cardiff have been supporting the hospital for over 7 years, providing funds for the purchase of urgently required medical equipment. In this instance, in round figures, the purchase price of £1,200 was 50% grant aided to provide the installation of a phototherapy light for treating newborn babies who develop jaundice a few days after birth. That brings me to the end of my presentation, and before I take questions, I'd like to mention the Foundation team. Their support and dedication have helped me enormously. A special thanks to current Grants Subcommittee Chair Andrew Lane of Cowbridge for his 11 years of service in the post. Andrew is stepping down and is to be replaced next year by Paul Bulpin of Cardiff Bay. So thank you, Paul, for taking on this role. Dan Griffiths of Cwmtawe has been the backbone of dealing with District grants. Thank you, Dan. Carol and DGN Malcolm of Cowbridge front the EPN, Polio Plus and management of FundGive. Thank you both. With Alison Sutherland of Cardiff Bay in charge of the Peace Programme. Thank you, Alison. Overseeing it all is Steve Jenkins of Cardiff Bay, who is also the Assistant Regional Coordinator for TRF, supporting us all in our efforts to do good in the world. I'll end now by making a final plea for anyone who may be interested in joining the team to please get in touch. as my term of office ends at the end of next Rotary year. So it would be good to have someone to shadow me. And also we need to replace Andrew Lane as a team member. Thank you all for your attendance. I wish DG Wayne a happy DMOB and DGE Mary a successful year.